Hi all, Kitamari here, playing The Hungry Lamb. This is a visual novel that is newly released on Nintendo Switch. It's also available on Steam. This is the Steam version, but I also have the Nintendo Switch version. So we're gonna go ahead and go to new game. Wolf. That's all I was able to read before it went off. Wolf. I often ponder why my father named me Liang. The word Liang indicates Shan, virtue. The character Shan is in the shape of an open-mouthed sheep. Looking at it, you can imagine the sheep's cry. Perhaps if one is as gentle as a lamb, Liang suits him. However, I refuse to see myself as a sheep. I am a wolf. Oh, the backdrop.
送他回家了.
Sent him home? Okay, let me actually turn the volume up for myself. I have amazing hearing. From nearby, there came a rough voice inquiring. I glanced sideways, and a man approached from the distance. Step by step, he made his way, twigs and fallen leaves crunching. Sunlight streamed through the cracks in the woods, dappling everything, yet he adeptly hid himself in the shadows. I sized him up. Capped in a bamboo hat, clad in a raincoat, holding a gourd, he seemed more a fisherman than a menace at first glance. Such an appearance made it easy to let one's guard down, hence he was usually tasked with luring the sheep, and then I would do the butcher's job. This fellow was another wolf accompanying me. His name was Xixing, but I preferred calling him Tongue.
喂，问你呢，干嘛不说话？
Hey, why the
处理干净了
silence?
吗？
Did you wrap it up? Wrapped up, gave the sheep a stab when he wasn't looking.
现在丢哪儿了？
Where did you dump him? Buried.
埋仔细了没？这里离城可不远，别被野兽刨出来。
Did you bury him cautiously? We're not far from the town. Make sure no beasts dig him up. Buried him tight, no worries.
行，那他身上都有些啥呀？
All right, what was on him? 3,000 coins worth. 5 tails of a silver plus 200 coins, ragged clothes, and a pouch. I take 4 tails, you get the ragged clothes, and the pouch is mine.
凭啥？
Why? This time there was just one sheep. I killed and buried him, so I deserve more.
行吧，行吧，就这样吧。
All right.
荷包多少钱？
How much is the pouch worth? Not much, it's just a common item.
我看看。
Let me take a look. Tongue wanted to see the pouch. I reached into my waist bag and pulled it out for Tongue to see. The pouch was small enough to fit in one hand. Common sense would dictate that a sheep's pouch might contain a handkerchief or some checks, but it was empty. The pouch was red, sewn together with patches, yet it looked new and was embroidered with a light-colored word, on. I chuckled softly. How did the pouch end up with this embroidered word? Did the lamb's name contain on, or did he wish safety from the pouch? If it's the latter, the pouch surely failed him.
妈的，确实是破东西。
Damn, it's
卖
really
不了
just
几
some
个
junk.
钱，你自个儿收着吧。
You can keep it for yourself.
真不知道你为啥稀罕这些羊毛啊！每宰一只羊都得留点羊毛，小
I
心
don't
哪
get
天
why
留
you're
了
into
痕迹，
these rules.
把你给害死。
You always take some wolves every time you butcher a sheep. Sheep. Beware, one day you'll find yourself killed for leaving traces. No big deal. I gave the pouch a squeeze and tossed it into my waist
好
pouch.
趁着天没黑
Let's go
咱
while
快
it's
去
still
扒
daylight.
肉搞点酒肉。
We should grab some food and drinks. Tongue patted my shoulder, taking the lead.
梁，这次你分的东西多，可得你请啊。
Since you got the bigger share this time, it's your treat. Okay? I responded casually to Tongue, pressing my hand on my bamboo hat to softly lower it. Following Tongue's footsteps, I walked forward, each step accompanied by the crunch of leaves underfoot. It was fine not to pay attention to these sounds, but if you do, they could become quite loud. It was as if the bird chirps and monkey cries had disappeared, and the whole forest was flooded with the crunch of trodden leaves. We, the 2 wolves, trod across the desolate mountains and wild ridges. Upon passing a tree with a sturdy, twisted trunk, I couldn't help but look closer. I knew it. Beneath that tree lay the sheep I butchered. Liang, Chapter 1, Cat, something, the year. The year is unknown. The sun hung high, almost blinding, but its rays lacked the slightest trace of warmth. I couldn't shake the memory of the sun from my childhood, so warm and inviting. Now it felt different. Perhaps it was a sign of the fading dynasty, an era gripped by misfortune where even the daylight had grown cold. Gulp. Perched on a boulder by an inn, I emptied the last drop from my flask. The fiery liquor seared my throat, yet its warmth refreshed my stomach. In bygone days, I deemed myself an unfortunate soul. However, in this year of calamity, savoring the fiery liquor proved to be a rare stroke of luck. Liang, a job, a big one. A familiar voice rang in my ears. I glanced over, and there was Tung standing behind me. Same old attire, bamboo hat, straw raincoat, he seemed like a fisherman. Tung's eyes gleamed, smiling at me, ready to spill some good news. What's the job? I gave him a quick look, inquiring casually. Up north at an inn, got a few lambs locked up. Yin-san's. Originally, Yin-san's crew was supposed to escort these lambs, but they got into trouble, caught by the official soldiers. Now he's short on manpower and wants us to take over the task. I won't handle lambs. You've got it wrong. I know you won't harm any lambs. Then what's the deal? We're to escort some lambs. Human trafficking? My heart sank. I finally got what Tung had been hinting at with his mysterious talk. Whenever he sought me out before, it usually meant dark deeds like robbing and killing. This time, all secretive-like. Turned out he wanted us to do trafficking, delivering some acquired lambs for a good price. Human trafficking? Don't frame it like that. We didn't nab those lambs. It's not human trafficking. Anyway, if that's how you want to see it, I can understand. You know, Yin-san, he helped us spot opportunities in the underworld, but his main hustle is human trafficking. This deal is about taking the lambs he found and delivering them. But it's not an evil deed, it's a good deed. How is human trafficking a good deed? I frowned and almost didn't want to hear Tung talk anymore. Of course it's a good deed. Trust me. Just listen. Liang, with widespread drought in recent years, many families are on the brink of starvation, so, in desperate times, they sell their limbs to Yin-san for some money and food. There's a fancy sheep with deep pockets but no offspring. He's eyeing a deal to acquire a few from impoverished areas. Just think about it. Those lambs from poor families were bound to starve. We're just giving them a chance in wealthier places, so their parents won't starve. The lambs will be well fed, and everyone's satisfied. We're doing a good deed. No secrets here. 1 lamb for 100 taels. 4 for 400. Oh my gosh, sorry. My cat touched my keyboard. Monkey! Oh my goodness, monkey. I don't know where I left off. I don't know. Okay, so we're gonna find out how this works. So this is the backlog here. Where did I leave off? Oh, and I can also use the middle mouse wheel to go up and down. Okay, it's without worrying about food or clothes. There we go.
妈的，扭扭捏捏的干啥呀？给个痛快呀！你要是不做这么好的活，我就找别人做。这不是看你身手好，一个能顶俩。越早越好，我今天就要去看看。妈的狗子，没个眼力劲儿，快给二位爷上热酒！ 尹三儿，我们来了。梁说他可以接。啊，没定？哎呦，梁爷，你可不能没定啊！哎，你身手好，又和星爷熟，这活可不能缺了你。哎，我知道您之前没做过右口的事儿，也不愿意做，只是真的不用担心，你们这次的活只是运送小羊，小羊是怎么来的，要送给谁？哎，而且我也不怕给你们交个底儿，这次啊，收小羊的人全是滔天，哪怕出了什么事儿，官府也查不下去。哎，再说了，现在兵荒马乱，官府哪能管得上啊？哎，星爷，您说是吧？是啊，去他娘的官府！闪地好多地方造反，他们要么在贪钱，要么在藏钱，哪能顾得上我们
All right, so yeah, I stopped reading for a bit and just kind of silently read to myself, and now we are at a decision point. Ready to accept the job or scope out the lambs first? Probably scope out the lambs first. Whatever that means. Let's go.
哎，行，梁爷愿意看小羊，那就有戏。
It's interesting he thinks of himself as a wolf. This guy's a fox, and most people are lambs, but I don't know. There's much more to this than
猴子
that.
去，把小羊带上来。
The third sheep. The third lamb stood out from the first two. Probably of school age, she wore old clothes, was small, but had much fairer skin than the first two lambs. She bowed her head in fear, hesitant to speak, yet her upright stance hinted at an unusual background.
哟，梁爷眼力真准，不瞒您说，确实左边啊，这俩小羊是姐妹，她们是附近穷山沟的。哎呀，现在各处闹饥荒，他家养不起这么多娃子，便先把女娃卖了，给小儿子换粮吃。啊，至于第三只嘛，出身不错，确实是我们拐来的。哎，肯定安全，不安全我哪敢往外送啊？哎，情况特殊，梁爷别急，别急呀！哎，来这边说话。梁爷啊，这只小羊情况特殊，我们查过的，虽然它是贵家出身，但运它没有风险。报官？哎呀，不怕，他家现在自顾不暇，怎么可能来找他呀？他家呀，曾与原都师交往甚密，好像还沾点亲戚。原都师你知道吧？哎，就是那个得罪了万岁爷被切片的。 被诛了3族啊！都师死后，他家遭受株连，杀的杀，流放的流放，遭贬的遭贬，早就家不成家了。
Even in times of peace and prosperity, the offspring of condemned officials were disregarded, let alone in times of turmoil. Fine, I'll give the last lamb a look. I nodded, leaving the matter of the third lamb behind, and turned my attention to the last one. The fourth lamb's a young boy. He looks like the oldest, tall, only a head shorter than me. Hunched, awkwardly tilting his head, he anxiously looked around, his gaze dodgy and elusive.
宁三儿，这羊看起来不太对啊，有呆病。
哎，是啊，他确实有点呆傻。
小时候患了热病，把脑袋烧傻了？
哎，不是，似乎他就是天生傻。这小羊从小就这样，家里一开始觉得他是弥勒佛转世，就一直养到大。后来闹了饥荒，家里穷了些，不想养这佛了。
阿爸，阿爸，阿爸，阿爸！
宁三儿，你确定肥羊会想要这种小羊？
哎呦，谁知道呢？也许洛阳那家说尽量是女娃子，但或许也能看下男娃子，能收的男娃比女娃少多了，也就只能搞到这种的了。
不行，这种绝对不行。
哎，星爷为何不行啊？
先不说我要是肥羊，绝对不想要这种小羊。你给我们运也运不了啊！这弥勒佛带着太麻烦，我和你梁爷在路上被他惹急了，一冲动便可能把他宰了。
哎呦，星爷呀，你就不能收收脾气？这是肥羊要的羊，少一只就少一份钱，丢一只
那我更不能要了。我最管不来这种有呆病的。我们管不了他，若是他一路喊喊叫叫，难免会引来官兵盗匪，到时候所有人都要完蛋。
哎，行，我早知道你会不愿意。哎，正好，也罢。其实我也担心那肥羊会不喜欢男娃，哪怕这种肥点的也不行，大概率会退货。哎呀，哎，狗子，那你还是把那小羊也带上来吧。
Before long, the waiter returned with another lamb, the fifth sheep. The lamb stepped out from the backyard, immediately catching my eye. Appeared to be around 10, in the early years of schooling. Donned in worn-out clothes, her skin neither dark nor particularly fair. Quite slender, my first takeaway from observing her. She had a small frame, clothes tightly wrapped around her, revealing protruding bones at her wrists. The thin fabric outlined her bones. Her hair was pitch black, while her eyes had an unusual deep blue hue. This lamb appeared delicate. If she were a bit plumper, perhaps she'd be a beauty in the making.
哟，这小羊看着还不错。你这儿的几只小羊，说实话，除了弥勒佛，都还长得不磕碜。
那是，我的货源肯定正。哎，梁爷觉得如何呢？
I don't mind how the lamb looks, but I'm curious why she isn't tied up like the others. I noticed the last lamb wasn't tied with a rope around her waist. Curiously, I asked Yin-san.
啊，她和其他小羊不一样，她不用绑带。
You trust her?
放心呢，她不是被卖过来或是拐来的，而是逃荒的时候自己过来的。
She came here on her own during the famine, not sold or snatched.
这娃子呀，是上个月刚来的，像是被调教过，只要给一口饭吃，什么活都愿意做。哎呀，虽然我也觉得可惜，但你们若是不想带那弥勒佛，可以让他替着去吧。正好啊，他也愿意去洛阳。哎， 他是哑巴，但是很懂事，平时
She's
不
mute
哭闹。
but well behaved.
你们跟她
Just
说会
mention
去
a
一个
place
能
with
吃
plenty
饱
of
饭
food
的
and
地
she'll
方，
definitely want to come
必
along.
定愿意跟着去。
我说尹三儿啊，你这儿的小羊怎么除了傻子就是哑巴？
哎呦，这小羊是哑巴又怎样？二位爷呀，说真的，要不是跟肥羊约好了货的数量，我真不打算把它给交出去。你们别不信，哪怕它不会说话，养大后绝对能卖个好价钱。
它耳朵没问题吧？
哎，没问题的。
啊，那倒也方便。
Having this girl along would be easier than dealing with the boys' issues. I agreed with that, but I wanted more details. Yin-san, how old are these lambs and what are their names? I asked Yin-san.
所属的俩姐妹，9岁和6岁，叫红儿和翠儿。第3只叫琼华，9岁。最后一只小羊，哎，它是哑巴，也不识字，所以很难知道名字。你们就叫它小哑巴就可以了。哦，年龄还是知道的。我问他是否9岁的时候，他点过头，估摸着就是9岁。
No name. 9 years old. Mute. I looked again at the last lamb brought in as a backup. This time, she looked up and met my gaze. Surprisingly, she didn't shy away like the other lambs. She stared at me quietly. Her deep blue eyes reflected my image. A faint moisture seemed to be layered over her eyes, or maybe it was just my imagination. Strangely, during that brief eye contact, a peculiar thought crossed my mind. She stood out as the only one among the children who didn't resemble a lamb. Cat. She appeared to be a cat. Liang, Chapter 2, Speak. I agreed to Yin-san's job. After that, Tong and I spent a week. I don't know why I said a week. Spent a night at Yin-san's inn. The next morning, I tidied up my attire, wiped down my sword, and sheathed it. Before we hit the road, Yin-san got us 2 pack horses for the journey. Can't ride them, but they're perfect for carrying stuff. To avoid checks on the main roads, we'll take lots of mountain paths. Those trails aren't good for wagons, but pack horses will work. The inn was in a remote spot and very few people were around, especially in the early morning. Tong and I stood by the inn, estimating how much time our job would take and planning what things to bring along.
化州到洛阳路途600里，哪怕日行50里，也要走半个月。
Can't reckon it that way. With the lambs, we'll make at least half dozen miles a day. Taking detours will extend the distance, if anything.
妈的，那就要备30日的干粮和水。现在各处闹饥荒，这么多粮又得花不少钱。
Pack light for now. Buy provisions on the road. Head east. Fewer folks fleeing. Cheaper grub.
行，要是我们到时候困在山里，实在饿极了，就吃个小羊充饥。
Tong grinned and cracked a joke. I just shrugged it off and didn't say anything. Time to roll. I'll fetch them. I tossed a quick word to Tong, grabbed my blade, and headed straight into the inn to call the lambs. I woke up the lambs and took them outside. 3 had ropes around their waists tied together. The mute one, without a rope, bounced around strangely.
梁，你说要不要把那个小哑巴也一起绑了？虽然尹三说他是自愿去的，不用担心会逃，可他这样能撒丫子跑，我不放心。
Yeah, makes sense. I nodded, went to the saddle, and found a rope in the bag. I connected the new rope to the 3rd lambs, tied a knot, and then went over to the mute girl with the other end of the new rope. The mute girl surely caught wind of our talk. She peeked at me, then turned away. Though she didn't look at me directly, she stood tall, arms raised on both sides. I didn't say anything, just stood behind her, head down. I took the rope, looped it twice around her waist, and tied a knot at her back. As I wrapped the rope, I could feel how skinny she was. The rope around her waist was only half an arm's length, so thin. After that, I double-checked the ropes on the lambs and then tied the rope's end to the pack horse. These knots were really tight, so unless they had something sharp, it'd be tough for them to untie. Even if they tried to cut the ropes, it would take time. Tongue and I would keep watch, making it tricky for the lambs to get a chance. When I tied the rope around the little mute's waist, she went along with it, didn't put up a fight at all. She did seem as sensible as Yin-san said.
喂，小崽子们，都听好了啊！这一路上，你们叫我星爷，叫他梁爷。我们要走1-2个月，为的是把你们送去能吃饱喝足的地方。我们出城后一直向东走，走的路大多都是山路，每日走的不多，日行20里便可。粮食我都备齐了，今后我们一天吃2顿，午时1顿，傍晚1顿，这2顿多吃点儿，别的时候不许喊饿。走路时不许交头接耳，不许哭闹，违者罚粮1天。这一路不要想着逃跑啊！逃者鞭笞数百，打死后还要被我活活生吃。
Oh, I would hope not. Even though they sound like pretty bad people, I mean, we'll see what happens. I've read up a little bit about this story. I remember when this game was on sale many months ago, and the story sounded very, very interesting. Tongue, all red-faced and loud, introduced himself to the lambs and set his rules. While he talked, he pulled out a switch from his bag and waved it in the air, showing it to the lambs. The young lambs couldn't hide their feelings well at that. When they heard about a place with lots to eat and drink, their eyes got big. But when they heard about, I'll strip your skin and have a feast, they all got scared and huddled up. Especially that refined lamb named Kyonghwa. When Tongue raved the switch, she got so scared her legs shook, almost falling down. Tongue always liked seeing the lambs scared because of him. He glanced at the frightened one, a playful smile on his face. Don't dawdle, time to go. I told Tongue not to overdo it and pay attention to the time.
行，出发吧。
Tongue turned around and yelled at the lambs once more. His shout made the lambs shiver. He chuckled, licked his lips, and led the way forward. So when are we killing Tongue, right? But at the same time, the main character himself seems like he has a really, really bad past, but we'll see. We followed Yin-san's chosen path to leave the city. Outside, we headed east along the planned route. To steer clear of the main road, we had to go through the foothills of the Tuhua Mountains area. First, we'd cross Shaohua Mountain, then Mount Huashan, and after that, we'd reach Tongquan, where Yin-san had set up a place for us to stay. The mountainous journey would take 4 to 8 days. Tongue and I knew this part around the Tuhua Mountains area well enough to avoid bandits, but with wild beasts in the mountains, can't be too careless. We walked through Shaohua Mountain. We didn't speak along the way. All we saw were endless trees, dirt, and rocks. All we heard were hooves, insects, and footsteps. After about 2 hours, Tongue suddenly started talking to me.
喂，梁，你知道群大虫吗？
Tiger herd. Tiger herd?
哦，你不知道啊？群大虫就是成群的大虫，寻常时候大虫都是独来独往。
Oh gosh, maybe they'll eat Tongue.
前些年陕北闹饥荒，很多人向东逃难，都逃到了一些山区里，被大虫吃了。大虫吃人多了，生崽也多，过2年就都是成群的大虫了。哎，梁，你说，若来了10几头大虫，我们还有命不？
I have no idea. That sentence, the way it was written, was funny. I thought about reading it out loud. So the tigers got all fat because they had tons of humans to eat. This is quite a rough world that we're living in. Doubt it.
那不一定。 我们手中有刀啊！啊，如果见到大虫，我就挥刀斩了小羊们，放出一堆血来。
Gosh, the lambs are treated, well, they're slaves, of course, but they're treated so horribly.
大虫见着
Hopefully we
血
can
肉，
outrun
并
some
不会去
fat
咬我们这些
tigers.
持刀的啊，会冲上去分食小羊。那时我们便可逃了啊！
Tongue burst into laughter, cranking up his voice in the last two sentences. I knew he was doing it on purpose, trying to let the lambs behind us hear. You seem to enjoy frightening these lambs, huh? Is that fun? I threw a cold remark at Tongue.
肯定有趣儿啊！
Tongue chuckled, dagger slung over his shoulder, moving forward. I glanced back at the lambs. 3 of them were scared white by Tongue's words. The mute one just lowered her head, lost in thought. Was she not afraid of tigers? Around noon, after walking for about 4 hours, we took a break for an hour. Tongue had some grub first, then said he wanted a quick nap and dozed off against a tree. After that, I handed out food to the lambs, giving each one a serving of dry ration and half a pot of water. The hungry lambs quickly started munching on the food and shared the water. As I munched on my own ration, I kept an eye on them. The 2 darker-skinned lambs, can't be confident about my pronunciation of their names. If I remember right, ate pretty fast and finished quickly. So she's the older sister, looking after her younger sister, giving her more water. She only took a tiny sip herself. Oh. The well-bred girl who got snatched was still kind of scared. She took the grub really carefully, eyes wide open, like she thought I might stab her while she was grabbing a bite. Surprisingly, even though she's a kidnapped miss, she didn't complain about the grub and finished it all. Not sure if Yin-san did a good job training her after the snatch, or she just figured out how things are now. While eating, her eyes got teary, and I figured she's thinking about something. Heard it's easier for poor folks to handle a rich life, but rich folks struggle in poverty. Probably hits lambs like her hard. Yeah. Besides watching those 3 lambs, I also kept an eye on the mute girl. She chowed down on her grub, eating really quick. Look away for a sec, and she polished off everything, like she hasn't eaten in forever.
Liang Ye.
Master Liang? While I was watching the mute girl, a lamb's voice suddenly reached my ears. The sister named Hongye, Hongye? Sorry, I should not butcher their names. Lifted her arm, shyly calling me, not quite used to saying my name. What's up? I stood up, furrowing my brow, and asked her.
我们要来抽抽，
Sis needs to go
别的
poop.
不行了。
Can't hold it. She told me a bit awkwardly. I turned to look at her younger sister. Her face turned really red. She hunched over, holding her legs, just like her older sister said. Eat, drink, pee, poop were constants of human life. We had been on the road for a while, so these lambs probably needed a break. Since Tongue didn't cover the rules about relieving themselves, they might have been holding it in until now. Sure, if anyone needs to go, just do it on the spot. I looked at them and casually announced my solution.
梁爷，不行，
Master Liang. Can't. Why not? The lamb called, Kyunghua seemed uneasy about my suggestion to do it on the spot. She looked at me awkwardly and then glanced nervously at Tongue, who was resting under a nearby tree. Her eyes showed worry and discomfort. While I wasn't entirely sure of her thoughts, I could guess. Maybe she was concerned that if Tongue woke up and saw them relieving themselves nearby, he might find a reason to punish them. Or she might be hinting that, being a girl among guys, she didn't want to do it in front of men. I leaned more towards the first one. After all, these young kids were still a few years away from being adults, so such concerns shouldn't bother them. All right, follow me with the ropes. We'll head to a spot behind those trees. Line up and take care of it there. I shared the plan and went to the pack horse, undoing the tied ropes. Holding the ropes, I guided each lamb. We passed the sleeping Tongue, going toward a cluster of trees a bit away. Aren't there supposed to be tons of tigers in this forest? This seems very dangerous. But they gotta go. They gotta go. I led the lambs to relieve themselves. When they came back, Tongue was still asleep. The lambs took a short nap. I stayed awake, keeping an eye on them and the surroundings. After lunch, we resumed our journey. We walked for 4 or 5 hours round the foot of Shaohua Mountains. Thankfully, we didn't run into any beasts or the tiger herd Tung mentioned. It's nighttime. The silver moon shone bright, and stars scattered across the sky. Soft clouds moved slowly, and insects made a racket. Night made it hard to see. So we decided to find a campsite at dusk, resting until dawn before hitting the road again. We'd been through these mountains a lot, found a good mountain lake for camp as dusk settled in. The lake was good for water and washing, and the conditions were decent. Tung set up camp, and I made a fire. He unloaded tools from the pack horse, gathered some dry straw nearby, and set up makeshift bedding. I grabbed a bundle of firewood and took out the fire-starting tools from the pack. With a fire striker in one hand and a piece of flint in the other, I struck the flint hard, producing sparks. I swiftly brought the flint near the tinder, and after a few attempts, a flame finally caught on the tinder. The flame quickly spread from the tinder to the firewood, forming a blazing campfire. The campfire served as a warning for nearby beasts and provided us with light and warmth. Wow, big fire! The youngest happily sat down and got close to the blazing fire. She reached out her hands to feel the warmth of the campfire. Seeing her do this, the other lambs first checked our expressions, making sure we weren't mad, and then they also gathered around the campfire.
娘，你还真能搭火呀！我记得你不是怕火吗？
Just done with his work, Tung joined us by the campfire. He brought up my old story. Well, I used to be scared of fire due to past memories of a disaster. Was scared before, not now.
哈哈，那是好事儿啊！本来想着你怕火，下次杀人放火，我都不愿带着你。
What a great bunch of, what a great duo of babysitters that we have here. I wonder what's going to happen to all the characters, considering how dark things are starting. Tung scared the lambs with his words again, but I didn't feel like continuing the talk. And honestly, when you have to deal with someone, you don't need to resort to arson. Though that is some good advice. That is... Liang has amazing advice for us.
妈的，累死！要不是怕这些小羊跑了，就该让他们去给咱们拾柴火、铺床铺。哎，梁，中午我休息过了啊。 你先睡2个时辰吧，2个时辰后你给我换班。
4-hour shifts, huh? All right. I nodded and settled down by the campfire. A gentle breeze passed by, making the campfire flames sway like torn red ribbons in the air. The fire's glow revealed the faces of the lambs, who remained still, perhaps fearing punishment. Yet their shadows had already adjusted to the surroundings. With the flickering firelight, those shadows danced freely, and the crackling of the burning wood added a lively tune to their performance. The scene in front of me brought back memories of the shadow plays I enjoyed during my childhood. Feeling a bit drowsy, while lost in thoughts of shadow play, I ended up dozing off. Guess I'll sleep first. With Tung watching over the lambs, no need to fret. No need to fret with Tung watching over the lambs. No need to fret. Slightly on edge, I clutched my blade and fell asleep. My gaze fixed on the dancing flames, I succumbed to the weight of my eyelids, gradually slipping into dreams. This is the world's worst babysitter. Tung's voice rang in my ears. I slowly opened my eyes. Huh? Did 4 hours fly by already? Guess that short nap didn't do much. Honestly, I felt more worn out now. 4 hours already? I asked Tung as I got up.
柴火烧了2捆，差不多2个时辰了。
Burned 2 bundles, 4 hours. The lambs okay?
都睡了。
Tung gestured at the nearby beds. Lambs rested by the fire. The sisters were together, and the other 2 girls on separate beds. Ropes around their waists kept them in place. Okay, I'll take the next shift. I nodded, gesturing to Tung, and decided to stand up for a quick stretch to refresh myself. Tung saw me stand up, then he found a bed and laid down. He dozed off fast, and soon enough I heard his snoring. Now it's just waiting for the sun to rise. Quite a chore. 4 hours of sleep daily for several dozen days. Wonder what that's like. In this regard, those lambs probably had it better than us. On the way, they could sleep for 8 hours. Once we reach our destination, they could get sold to the fancy sheep. To the fancy sheep? If luck was on their side and they were chosen, they might get adopted as daughters. Even if luck wasn't on their side, becoming servants or maids in these chaotic times was still better than being refugees and bandits like us, right? Thinking about it that way, this job might actually be a good deed. Ta. While lost in my thoughts, a sudden noise caught my attention. I swiftly turned to see its origin. In the dancing firelight, a lamb rose to its feet. It was Little Mute. "Why are you up?" I asked Little Mute coldly. No words. She couldn't. "Hungry?" I asked again. Shook her head. "Need to pee?" She nodded. "Pee?" I frowned. In the middle of the night. Such a bad habit. She needed to pee, but it was tricky. The rope tied her to the other lambs, and going could disturb their sleep or even bother Tongue. Going nearby wouldn't be ideal either. It could get smelly, and if I let her once, she'd probably do it again next time. All right, I'll untie you for now and lead you to the lakeside to pee. Oh, he's going to untie her. What's going to happen? Just be good and don't do anything extra. I told Little Mute coldly. She nodded obediently. Russell. I moved behind her, carefully looking for the knots, and after a bit of effort, I finally undid the rope for her. Follow me. I went to the fire, grabbed an unburnt stick, lit it as a torch, and continued forward. Little Mute followed behind me. She kept a grip on my robe, following closely to stay on track. She kept stumbling onto my back, using it to stay steady. We walked over dry branches and fallen leaves, pushing aside the foliage blocking our way, and finally stepped onto soft soil. We reached the lakeside. Tall reeds bordered the lake. The ground was damp, and it seemed like a good spot to take care of business. Here's a good spot to go, I said to Little Mute, pointing to the nearby reeds. Little Mute nodded and went over. Also, I can close the dialogue box just to see the artwork here. She crouched down, tried to untie her belt, and then stood up again. She looked at me, a bit embarrassed. Well, seems like she's shy. She preferred some privacy. Fair enough. She seemed smart. I respected her wishes. I turned around to give her some privacy. After a bit, I heard a rustling sound. She was undoing her skirt, doing it slowly, maybe a bit hesitant, perhaps worried I might turn around and catch a glimpse. Thinking a lot for a 9-year-old. When I was 9, did I care if there were people around when I peed? Oh, yeah, that might be true. Uh-oh, there's a sound. Suddenly, a chilly breeze swept over my neck. Tap, tap. Quick, rhythmic footsteps came from behind. Someone was running right behind me. Little Mute. Oh my goodness! I spun around. The shiny dagger flashed in the moonlight. In her hand, a small dagger glimmered, and she thrust it upward, aiming at my throat. Her hair fluttered in the breeze, and beneath those strands, I saw a pair of eyes filled with deadly intent. Where did she get the dagger? Why did she want me dead? My mind went blank, beads of sweat forming on my forehead. Her sudden attack caught me off guard. What should I do? Oh my goodness, what should I do? Am I gonna step back fast? Or am I gonna neck tackle? I'm gonna step back fast. I'm a gentleman. I'm a gentleman slaver. I'm going to, why is he just like, why would she wanna go and stab the guy who kidnapped? I mean, whatever. Anyway, let's keep going. Step back. Gotta dodge the dagger. In a moment of panic, without time to think, I stepped back sharply to avoid the dagger. But then, a problem. In my rush, I slipped on the wet ground by the lake. Unable to stand firm, my body suddenly lost balance, tilting backward. Damn it, it's over. I cursed silently and fell backward. Thump. Plunge. 2 clear sounds, me hitting the ground, and her dagger through my throat. I stared at her, my killer, Little Mute. She put all her strength into the dagger, splitting my throat completely. Couldn't see her expression under her hair, but those gritted teeth told me she gave it her all. Must have used every ounce of strength to take me down. Blood gushed from my neck. Tried to break free, but with my throat like this, it was useless. Little mute. Why did she kill me? No answers. Death's grip spread, draining my strength and warmth. With questions unanswered, I slowly closed my eyes and sank toward death. Ending. Died halfway. Killed by the cat. Never turn your back on a feline predator. Goodness gracious. I already have the first bad ending. So these are our two main characters, right? And then we have a flowchart along with extras. We can start right. I imagine we can start right here, and then we can do some skipping in order to get to the point wherein we screwed up. Story completion 5.47%. So that gives a bit of an idea about how lengthy the story is. Ooh, I don't want to give too many spoilers here, but I at least want to see. Okay, I like quickly. Hopefully, didn't see too much. Chapter 15. So it looks like there are 15 chapters altogether, and yeah, decent enough length of this game. Let's go to extras, and this is just giving an idea of how many CGs are in this game. So anyway. This title, I'm surprised to see it on Nintendo Switch, I guess, because of the subject matter, but I've heard good things about the storyline as a whole. It's very gritty, and it has a lot going from it. From what I heard, the character development is noteworthy. And I'm curious to learn more about these two main characters, especially if one doesn't end up killing the other, which is what would ideally happen in part 2. I mean, if I do make a part 2 of this. But thank you so much for being here, and thank you for watching. Thanks for everything. I'll see you later. Bye. Link in the description. Links for Nintendo Switch version and the Steam version.